Big salute to patrons and channel members who are getting to see this first. Thank you very much for your support and interest. And to those who are not already patrons and channel members who have had to wait to see this later, please reconsider your life choices. But in any event, thanks for watching whenever you're seeing this. But initially, I'm very grateful to be able to unload some of this frustration because this whole Black buying power experience has been fascinating and very telling and revealing and sometimes frustrating. Some time ago, someone who would themselves argue would probably want to argue as a friend or a comrade or an ally or some sort of non-enemy, who themselves has a YouTube channel, has some background in media and broadcasting and interviewing, said to me publicly that my interview about my book on Marc Lamont Hill's show like a year or so ago didn't do well. And I agreed. I don't think I've ever, as I said to him directly when he showed up on our platform or on Black Liberation Media's platform, that I didn't do well in the interview. But I appreciated the attempt on his part to grant me one, and I've been rethinking that ever since, actually. But I'll come back to that in a minute. But this person says to me, they say, listen, you didn't do a good job of explaining your argument around buying power, and you need to do better. And I agree, especially with that interview. But what has always bothered me about that criticism is that this person also has never invited me to their platform and never granted me an interview or never did something, even more, which, supportive, which would be to, do something wild like edit a collage of all of my presentations online and videos or whatever about my book and edit them into something that they would think is more cogent, succinct, and explanatory. Or, as I said, just invite me on and demonstrate or help me make my point more clear. Because the point ultimately is not, is Jared a good interview? Is what his argument is around buying power correct? And if so, what do we do about it? So, with that being allegedly, someone's interest, those topic areas, you would think, well, instead of just saying Jared should do better, let's help make the point more clear because it's clearly an important topic, and if it's not being clearly conveyed, let's help him out. But that didn't happen. Similarly, over the year or so since I was on with Marc Lamont Hill, I've seen him invite several other authors on to talk about their books, but not in the way I was invited on. And this was something else that this other critic of mine left out of the context. Now, if you remember, and this is something that I had to remember for a second, when I was invited on to Marc Lamont Hill's show to talk about my book, that was only to be about a 10-minute or so segment of what was really his goal, to get me to talk about the ADOS movement. And what he was trying to do was get me to debate Yvette Carnell. So the brief, relatively brief, I think 10-minute or so discussion of my book was not meant to be the peak. So, but in other instances, he'll invite people on and he has these long form, slow motion, sort of relaxed conversations about their work in ways he's never done with me. In the multiple times the 2 times he's invited me onto his platforms to talk about my book, they've been those more professional short form interviews, which I always do struggle with. But again, similar to this other person, I've always thought, but if you've read my work, which I don't think this other person has done either, but if you've read my work and thought it was of value, more importantly, if you thought I was 100% right, why wouldn't you, even if you saw my flawed effort, have other discussions of the work, read the work and lead discussions of the work on your platform? Again, you could go overboard and edit something that I've done into something more cogent. You could invite me on for a longer form discussion. You could invite others on. When Renee was invited on initially with Geechee and Dr. Shakur to talk about the Vernon philosophy, I thought she did better at representing my argument than I've done. So I don't need to be there. The point is, get the idea, and if your interest is in the ideas and in the Black community and economic analysis, then why wouldn't you? But then this was sent to me about whenever this happened with the whole, and I covered it separately, and I'll put a link to that. But the discussion of from Wallow about his sort of rant about black businesses. This other segment where Marc Lamont Hill, who is now a regular on with Joe Budden, talked about that Wallow speech. And in that, Marc Lamont Hill says something that I thought was kind of like a reminder for me, maybe, why maybe Mark, you haven't invited me on for a longer conversation or to discuss my book at your Uncle Bobby's bookstore, or I believe it's Uncle Bob, right? Like, you know, but I wish you would, given now I'm talking like he's going to actually see this, but like I wish you would, Mark, either read my work and or have a longer form discussion with me about it, given what I think you were saying in this relatively brief discussion. From what I've seen, it wasn't elaborated on in the show, but what I saw here was maybe you should. So let's take a look at this brief clip. I'll put the link in the show description to the full, sent in the whole thing. But when they're discussing how Wallow refuses to blindly support black-owned business, here's Marc Lamont Hill offering his thoughts, or some of his thoughts.
Saying keep going to a restaurant that has rats in it, but what I'm saying is he's saying he's framing it almost like he said it's a finesse. This, riding off this black shit, or I'm not going to support you just because you black. I'm saying, we should support businesses just because they black. We should pay special extra attention because they black. Because a lot of times what black people do, which frustrates me as a black business owner, and everybody here is a black business owner, so y'all understand this.
Message.
Yeah, so that was the first part of this clip that I thought was interesting. He's reminded as a black business owner. Now, again, a lot of black business owners, some rightfully so, have taken offense at my argument as feeling that my argument around buying power challenges them, and certainly my argument around black capitalism challenges them, and it does. Only if you're arguing that this is liberatory, and if you want to use your status as a black business owner to work in a sort of anti-class way against the rest of the black community, or if you want to act along the class lines of an entrepreneur, then yeah, I could see that. But I thought I could see that you would feel some hostility or animus or defensiveness around my argument. But I don't know where Mark is on that. But I just thought, I said, okay, right, he's right. We're all of us on this platform are black business owners, so you understand how we get done foul sometimes.
Is that niggas will throw us away so fast. If somebody has to wait for 10 minutes at the soul food restaurant, man, these niggas, I had to wait 25 minutes for my soul food. I ain't never coming back again.
But they'll wait like an hour at Houston's.
Nigga, they will have a buzzer at the Olive Garden waiting for an hour to get that food, right? They give us no grace, no mercy, no breaks, and I'm saying we need it. No community has the money leave their community faster than black dollars.
That's fact.
We give that shit away quick, and we love to give it to the dry cleaner, the restaurateur.
Touch one hand and it goes straight to the
and that's what I'm saying.
Community.
So I'm saying we have a responsibility not to play into that. And I don't. And Wallow does support black business. Like I said, he makes extra trips to my bookstore just to buy books when he could buy them from Amazon for a lot cheaper, frankly. But when you send that message out, it's dangerous because people hear the wrong thing.
But
all right. So first of all, that's not facts. That is, the black dollar circulates differently and all of that. That's not facts. I also would probably disagree with the whole argument that black people are so quick to throw black businesses under the bus when they're willing to support white businesses, this, that, and the third. First of all, if you're going to get really good service at a certain restaurant after waiting an hour as opposed to waiting 10, 15 minutes for bad service, that's one thing. But that's all the misdirect that is in this conversation, where Wallow is encouraging this argument between good business, bad business, and quality of service or whatever. But what Mark and the rest of them seem to have missed here is that the real straw, or the real misdirect here, is that black businesses of any quality are a solution or a viable alternative to some mass political effort to make real change in this society. it's all a misdirect. Whether you get good service at a black business or not, whether you wait long or not, whether black people are too quick to throw black businesses under the bus or not, none of that is the point here. The point here is that black businesses are promoted as part of a black capitalist narrative and a colonial messaging narrative and apparatus that as a solution, as what should be aspired to by black and other oppressed communities. And I think that misses the entire point. So I would encourage Mark to revisit my work and maybe a longer discussion with me about it. I would encourage this other person and anyone else who has any affinity for this discussion or my work or the argument to engage it and invite me or others to more eloquently lay out the argument or to do it themselves through their own media productive capacity, to give the argument as much of a steel manning, as they say, to steel man my argument as much as possible before considering its flaws or errors or whether it should be omitted entirely.
I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.